Kaleidoscope Clan, how's everyone doing? This is Mariposa Ma'at. Oh, look, beautiful sunset. I guess I'll sit for the sunset. So, I am here this evening. I want to talk a little bit about a very special event that took place in history that affected, here we go, my family line very seriously. And it's something, you know, I'm 52 and I recently uncovered a lot, and the name of this event is called The Weeping Time. You know, growing up I always knew about the Trail of Tears, which was when the Cherokee people were displaced and moved to reservations off of their native lands. But I had never heard of the Weeping Time. And it wasn't until the first time I heard about the Weeping Time, I was in Ghana. Me and my ex-husband were working with the AAAG, the African American Association of Ghana, and we sponsored a movie by PBS called Africans in America. And that's the first time I heard about Butler Island and all of that. But somehow I blocked it out for some time. And recently I went back to it. I started researching it. And yes, the Weeping Time is the name that they gave to the largest slave auction ever held on U.S. soil, with the most slaves ever sold. And it happens to be from my personal family line. It was the Butler plantation slaves. They were owned by one of the founding fathers named Pierce Butler. He was the governor of Pennsylvania at the time, and his brother was the governor of South Carolina, and they had an island that they called Butler Island, and they had a plantation, and they had over 1,000 of the most skilled, the best slaves, and they were the Butler slaves. So on March 2nd and 3rd, 1859, they took 436 of the over 1,000 slaves, and they sold them because Pierce Butler he was in debt. He owed a lot of money for his gambling, and so that was how he paid his debt, was he sold off people that were in a very tight community. The Butler slaves were their own, like, city. You know, they were community, they were family. And so the trauma of this event is not something that can really be expressed, you know. And as much as I feel it, I know that I still don't feel the full brunt of it. And this curse has still continued in my bloodline, you know? Because when you do these kinds of things, when you sell husbands and wives and children away from each other and don't allow them to have the continuity of family, it creates the kind of trauma that that is lifelong, and that continues throughout generations. So it actually helped me a lot to understand that my family came from this kind of trauma. My family from South Carolina is very much in denial about these things, or maybe, you know, because they experienced traumas related to the past that I didn't, maybe it's just too painful for them to look at, which is, of course, you know, probably the case. But it is something that it's hard because, you know, I've always considered myself to be very privileged, but in my privilege, I can say that You know, our family is very weak, and I have suffered a lot from the fragmentation of our family line on both sides. We have white relatives that would be at my great grandparent level. I have great grandparents who are white on both sides, and my family does not really acknowledge that. Like, we don't know any of the white people because they're not part of us. We were rejected, right, by the white side whenever that happened. And so this has caused schisms where, you know, I believe it makes people afraid to be close and loving, you know. The Butler clan was known to be excellent, related to skills and service. You know, we were very good at serving people. But there is a long story of denying each other and cheating each other and being competitive and just not having a loving family spirit that unifies, you know. So that's why it's really important for me to talk about it, because it's very painful for me. I'm very much attached to my spirit, my ancestry. Like, I feel my ancestors. And everywhere I've gone, I can feel the ancestors in that land. Like here in the Mayan land, I can feel their pain. I can feel what they went through when colonization came and all of that. When I was in the South, in Atlanta, I had a lot of racial negative energies that I had to contend with. And in my own personal family, we have a lot of issues around family inheritance, family connections. And it's very interesting because Pierce Butler, the owner of the slaves that sold them, he too actually did the same thing, because he divorced his wife. I think her name was Fanny Kimball. She was very much against slavery. She went to the island and wrote a whole book about how disgusted she was. And so after that, they returned, and they ended up getting separated. And from that point, he like stole her children away from her, where she couldn't have any contact with her children. And I've actually had that happen with me, with my ex. I mean, so it's just like a spiritual echoing, you know. Because I speak truth, I also have been punished in my family line for being a truth teller and someone who doesn't stand up. I mean, who stands up when I see evils being perpetrated against people. So it's really, really important that that people know real American history, like, and African Americans also. I think a lot of the problems in America are racial. Underlining that is spirituality. There's spiritual problems. People not honoring Mother Earth and mothers for having babies and stuff like that. Like, all that, it's all about power and control. And somehow, you know, a lot of people believe that, oh, that's just the way humanity is. No, it's not the way humanity is. There are levels to this. And we know that the people who traveled all throughout the world, subjugating, murdering, and pillaging, those people are special, and they need to be put in check. So yes, here it is. It is a full 210 free link I will be adding, but here you go. The Weeping Time: Memory and the Largest Slave Auction in American History. Okay, so yes, there's an illustration to give you some idea, but this is what took place in Savannah, March 2nd and 3rd, 1959.